This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 87 of the Healthy Critters Radio on the Horse Radio Network. Healthy Critters Radio is brought to you by BioStar US. Find them online at biostarus.com.
On today's show, we discuss pasture management. In the Critter Corner, we learn about parakeets. Critter Nutrition focuses on the healing powers of Smectite clay. And in Coffee Clatch, we ask, does your dog watch TV? Listen in. So I have a little bit of news.
Are you pregnant?
Yes.
I'm pregnant with an idea. Do tell.
No, I'm actually trying
love
to
news.
Prevent a pregnancy.
Oh. Okay. That's okay.
Okay, so Wookie is in season. And
okay, yes. Okay.
For any of our listeners who have a dog that has not been altered in any way, and we have an intact male, and of course we have a female, which we plan on breeding a year from now. But in the meantime, we have to go through 2 more heat cycles, this one and another one, before the breeding. And it's always an interesting proposition of keeping 2 dogs who live in the same household separated without being excessively mean.
Yeah. Because when nature calls, nature calls.
So Wookie has a chaperone, and his name is Kemosabe, or Uncle Sabi. And he is with her 24/7. And they're in one part of the house, and the other boys are in the rest of the house, with a series of gates, drawbridges, moats in between.
Bless his little heart.
Yeah, well, the weird thing is that last year in her first heat cycle, I, let he and Wookie out, and I came back to let them in, and he had tied with her. And I'm like, wait a minute.
That quickly.
Wait a minute.
Yeah. Hey.
He's neutered.
Yeah.
How is this possible?
Oh,
but evidently it is. Now, the tie, of course, wasn't as long as an intact male, but it did give me a start, and I thought, I know who the vet was that did the surgery, so if we have puppies, I know exactly
who you want to talk to.
Yeah. But obviously
so
he's
funny.
shooting blanks, thank God. So that's the big excitement
Thank
for
goodness.
me. Management.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Constantly management.
Yeah,
well,
for 3 weeks. It's a 3-week.
That's a lot.
It's a lot.
And how do the other boys handle it? Do they kind of get caught up in the emotion? Like, how do they deal with it? Or are they just like, oh, you're being an
all
idiot?
of them really let me know that on Saturday that she's pretty interesting now, more than just a playmate.
Yep.
But there was no.
She's
bleeding.
more than my sister.
So I thought, boy, maybe I that's what I said. Okay, I'm separating them, and I thought, well, maybe I've jumped the gun. You always question yourself. Well, there's no blood, so Well, wouldn't you know, Monday, boom, there it was. So, I'm really glad I paid attention to them.
Yeah, they were telling you, "Hey, Ma,
dovey, hey, baby,
yeah,
aren't I cute?"
Yeah, come. Do they do like walk bys?
They're much less subtle.
I'm sure Wookie is.
They're and she's like, "Oh, okay," and lies right on her back.
Oh, little slut puppy. It is. It's funny. Only one time I have these 2 very beautiful ragdoll caps, and Fupa is my female. And Yeah, her. And she's just beautiful. She really is beautiful. And
She
she
is.
she runs the world. Not everybody knows this, but she does run the world. And her palace is my house. And she runs the world from here. But when she came into heat, it was funny because it literally happened. I had no clue. I mean, and they said to let her go through, let her have one heat cycle or get to the heat cycle and then spay her. I guess very similar to dogs. And I'll never forget it because Parker and my soon-to-be son-in-law was at the house with Hannah. And Fupa, I mean, she just thought that he was a tomcat. And to the point where it was like, this is disturbing. Like she would just throw herself at him. There was no other cat, for her to. Anyway, she was actually spayed that week. But it's a chore. It's a bit of a chore because she just I couldn't get her to move. So kudos to you, Tigger, and dealing with all of that for sure.
Well, you look down the road and you say, it's worth going through this for 3 weeks now and 3 weeks in the fall in order to have the puppies a year from now.
Yeah, exactly. Because
if there was no end game, this would be pointless.
That would be dumb. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, thank goodness you've got the chaperone.
I
Sabi.
do, Uncle Sabi. And speaking of management, pasture management. We're in the time of cutting pastures and managing it, and a lot of people do seeding in the spring, and it's hay time, and so we thought it'd be a good time to talk about pasture management. So let's go.
There we go. Pasture management. Dun, dun, dun. Well, it doesn't, it's like, you clean the pasture, you mow the pasture, fertilize the pasture. It's another one of those things that it's so regional. What works in one part of the country is absolutely not going to work in another part of the country. And there are so many different ways to achieve the same goal, which is a pasture that both the turf is healthy and the horses eating the turf are healthy. There's a lot of ways to get there. So it is something we should have conversations about, I think. Yeah. And I think you had a particular aspect of
do,
pasture
and
management
that's
in
the
mind.
pollinators.
Well, why don't we start out with what is a pollinator? Because of course we're all going, oh yeah, honeybees, right? But I think it's a little more broad than that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's hummingbirds, it's butterflies, it's bats, it's moths.
Bats and moths, really?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. And the reason I think this is so important is, the seeds that you commercially buy to seed your pastures, they're hybridized and designed to put weight on cattle.
Yep.
I mean, they say horse food, but horse forage seed, but it's the same as cattle. And so they've developed, orchard grass and timothy so that they're, really high in protein, and so that they'll make the cattle big and beefy. And they also have a higher predominance of sugars. And a couple of years ago, our tractor broke, which is always the good thing, and the when's the light in the tunnel going to shine? And during that period where it was at John Deere, which was about 2 weeks, the pasture really grew. I mean, it had needed to be cut when the tractor broke, but then it had another 2 weeks. And I was walking in it, and there were plants I had never noticed before. There were plants that looked like daisies. There were plants that were blue. And then there were butterflies, and there were goldfinches. And in all this high grass and what we would call weeds. And so when we got the tractor back, I said to Peter, I said, you know what? Let's leave this side and just mow a path. And we have been doing that now for the last couple of years. And the amount of pollinators, bumblebees, honeybees, butterflies, I don't know that it attracts the bats so much. I see the bats at night. The hummingbirds, the goldfinches is extraordinary.
I bet.
If you don't want to give up, we have a lot of pastures. So if you don't want to give up that much, leave a strip along the edge. It can be a couple of feet wide, and let the the milkweed, and this pretty blue flower is called toad's flax, blue toad flax. Who knew?
Yeah.
And the daisies spouts come up, and the chamomile comes up, and the brown-eyed Susans come up. And it's not only is it beautiful, but you just become a host to all these fabulous pollinators. So that's my
neat.
tip in pasture management.
Now, when you started at your farm, did you plant your pasture, or is your pasture all volunteer and you just maintain it?
We other than liming, we didn't do anything to the pastures until last year. We limed it, and then last year I got this herbal ley, which is a mix of herbs for horses, and we mixed it with some Timothy, the normal cow stuff, but we mixed it to dilute it. And we did half the pastures last year, and then we did the rest of them this year. And
you just top seeded them?
No, they drilled into the ground.
Oh, do you drilled it? Okay.
We had I call him the seed man. That's how he is in my phone book.
The seed man.
And he comes with this big tractor with and he pours the thing in, and it drills a seed into the ground. And the interesting thing is, this is old Virginia pasture is a lot of orchard grass and a lot of fescue. And, I wanted to support the orchard grass. I don't have to support the fescue. It's here whether I like it or not. Yeah. But we had some invasive plants, and we had tarped them over the years. When they come up in a patch, then we would tarp them, lay a tarp down and burn them out in the summer.
Now, explain a little bit exactly what you do there, because that's an interesting and effective way to deal with invasive plants if they're patchy like that. So kind of go through how that exactly works.
So, you identify, generally, a lot of invasive plants are in groups.
Yes.
So you identify the group, and you know that it doesn't belong in your pasture. And you saw it at your neighbors up the road. So it's invasive. And you take a tarp and you put it over that section. And we hold it down with concrete blocks and logs. And literally it stays there for a couple of months during the summer. And because the plant doesn't get light, and it doesn't really get oxygen, and it doesn't get moisture, it kills it. And then we come back and they're dead. And so then we just dig up that patch and seed it by hand.
Interesting. That's a really great way to do that, because you're right. When you look around at a pasture, there's going to be that overgrazed spot that 2.5 years later has that little batch of weeds in it because there was an opportunity, because usually those invasive types, they're opportunistic. Or a patch that got really long, it didn't get mowed or something like that. So that's a great way to deal with that. The whole the tarping thing. I'm going to put that in my list of helpful tips.
We did in our efforts to we don't spray any pesticides or herbicides. So we found this guy who he has I call it the flame torch.
Yeah.
And you torch the weeds.
Yeah.
Well, it looks. When he demonstrated, I went, oh, okay, that's doable. When we actually did it, it's tricky as heck.
Yeah, it should be done by professionals, in my opinion. I've seen it done. Yeah.
And if you don't get it down the root, it's just going to grow up anyway.
It just comes back, exactly, because many, many plant species are designed to survive fires because they're naturally occurring. Yeah, I can see that.
So tarping has been, and now we're tarping the, I don't know if you know that Virginia is a really big hot spot for poison ivy.
Yeah, it grows like
weed, on everything. And we found that tarping poison ivy works great. Same principle. You just literally starve.
Wow. Interesting.
So take care of the pollinators, really important. And because we have to seed, we meaning everybody, when we seed our pastures, it's even more important to allow the native plants and the wildflowers to have a place.
Yeah.
And we need to adjust our eyes, I think, into what a beautiful pasture is. Is a beautiful pasture perfectly mowed?
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing along the fence lines, beautiful white fencing. Yes, that's one form of beautiful. But I think another form of beautiful is the native plants, the wildflowers. The horses aren't going to eat it anyway. And if they've got plenty of pasture to eat, it doesn't impede at all. And it saves gasoline by A, you're not mowing it, and B, along fence lines, you're not having to take those horrible noise polluting weed whackers.
Yeah. For years now, I've been contacting various and sundry seed companies around the country that produce grass seeds for horse pastures. I've probably contacted 6 of them over the years. And, not a single one has ever responded for my request to do an interview with them.
Not my gosh.
One. Isn't that crazy?
Wow.
Because I'm all the time contacting companies that provide services or products and things like that because we're curious about that topic.
Of course.
We had a horse trailer manufacturer on to talk about how horse trailers are made and things we should look for when we buy a horse trailer. Who would know better, right? So I thought, well,
right.
I want to know about seeding pastures and how seed works and what works for different regions. And not one has ever even responded. Makes you wonder. So if you know anybody in the seed business, Tigger?
I do know somebody in the seed business that he represents this herbal lay that I just love. I mean, I have it planted along some fence lines, and when it blooms at different times during the spring and summer, and you get these beautiful blossoms. And the horses will come over and nibble on something, or maybe they want a little bit of this. Again, variety is so important to horses. That's why I seed my pasture. Allow the fescue, add more orchard grass, timothy, and bluegrass. And of course, the bluegrass isn't good in the summer, but it's great in the spring because it's a cool grass. So they need variety. Horses need variety. Their gut needs variety.
I'm on the same page you are when it comes to variety of grasses and hays, but it is harder and harder to find.
And it's harder in a climate like yours, Jennifer.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Except you're in Ocala, which has a better.
Yeah, we're not. It's not as tough as, for example, Wellington.
Yeah.
What does tend to happen here is the community culturally is very strong into single species pastures. They want it all to be the same stuff. It has to be Argentine Bahia and nothing else. It's very strong because that's what the extension services push.
Right.
Yeah. But I grew up in the Mid-Atlantic area where lots of species of grasses grow. But I've even down here in Ocala, you can get pasture mixes that are mixes. There are half a dozen different species of horse-friendly grasses in there that grow well in these climates, but they're not as popular because, like you said, there are different versions of beauty, and we've all gotten so used to looking at a green area. And to us, what seems healthy and beautiful looks a little bit like a golf course, and that's what we've gotten used to. And we just figure that's what it should be. Yeah.
Right. So I'm all for non-golf courses.
Non-golf courses.
Yeah.
And Patty, when you go back to Texas,
non-golf course,
there's a lot of native grasses in that swath of Oklahoma, Kansas, Texas.
Right.
And really look at the possibility of reintroducing some native grasses that are good for horses in the pastures that you're going to in Dallas, because they also tend to be lower in sugar.
Well, that's
right.
That will be perfect.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you've got some great
that's good to know.
pasture management tips, please let us know at healthycrittersradio.com.
Can't wait.
Hello.
Hetty.
Hello, citizens of the Hettyverse. How's it going?
Hettyverse.
That's great.
That's
oh, that's good.
That's good.
So we were interested, Hetty, in your latest exploits in dumpster diving.
Oh, Tigger, do you wish to hear the story about the cupcake?
No, but I wish you would share it with everybody.
Okay. So the servant, you may know, she claims to have another profession. It's not real, but she claims that when she has deadlines and that she needs to get her mind moving, something I have never seen happen in all of my years with her, but whatever. She does a lot of baking. And she does this baking, you know, in some would say, in a non-judgmental way, entirely neurotic fashion, you see, because she just bakes and bakes and bakes and bakes and bakes and bakes, and she doesn't eat any of the nice things. She gives them to people. People who work in the barn, people who are down the road, neighbors, not little dogs.
Of course not.
So during Bake Fest 2019, the May version, she might have made, 6 to 10 batches of cupcakes. And during that time, she could not really rid herself of all the cupcakes. Now, to be fair, she tried, but she forgot to bring them to her imaginary workplace. And so as a result, you know, there were quite a lot of them. So anyway, she put them in the oven and forgot about them as like a storage place because little dogs are very clever with their little paws. And so if you leave things around, little dogs get them. So yeah. Or the cat too, if you leave it on the counter. So she left it in the oven and forgot about it. Yep, that's what she did. And these were double chocolate cupcakes with cinnamon icing.
Ooh.
Wow, that
And so
sounds
later,
awesome.
like a week or so, possibly 2 weeks later, she turned the oven on for something completely different and melted the bejesus out of them. And so when she was like, I wonder why the house smells like burning cinnamon chocolate, yo, she went and found out this is why, because she's not that bright. I added the yo. She did not say that on her own. I added that.
Okay.
And
that was good.
Nice touch.
Thank you. So she went and our dumpsters, you know, we have the dumpsters for the manure. And we have in the past had the adventure of the diving from the plank on the upper barn one to find chickens. But she thought stupidly that we could not get into the other one. If she put the cupcakes at the top of it, we would never be able to get them. Did we ever prove her wrong? My sister and I are like alpine engineers when it comes to dumpsters. Let me just tell you, we scaled Mount Manure and we just tucked right in and probably ate, 12 of those cupcakes, no problem, before we were found, because she did not immediately wonder where we were, which really is her own fault, because she had the opportunity to be responsible. And once again, she did not wonder where we were immediately, that we were not right where we were supposed to be. So really, this is all her fault. On 3 to 5 levels, I think. So then I went on a serious chocolate and sugar high, like vibrating around the room and twisting and spinning and twisting. Boy. And wow, was I wild and so sick to my stomach for about 12 to 14 hours. And then I was fine. By the way,
you're a hardy little dog.
For those listening, my brother, the stupid goblin, did not eat any cupcakes. We don't know if he is actually capable of withstanding the sort of extreme gastrointestinal distress that my sister and I attempt to engage with on a regular basis. And she used very high quality chocolate and we were fine, except we pooped actual chocolate for 2 days. It doesn't come out, just in case you're wondering.
I think with the mountain climbing ability, I can see a future for Hetty doing Everest.
Yeah. She'll be
especially
like,
there's chocolate at the summit.
You're just saying that because of the high mortality rate there and because you're hostile.
And you're hostile. Are you still on a bit of a sugar high? It's just a question. There's no judgment.
No, this was several weeks ago. I feel fine, but thank you for inquiring.
Well, thank
Well,
you,
there you
Hetty.
go.
We look
Yes,
forward to more
thank you.
dumpster diving adventures.
Yes,
Well,
we do.
I have mad skills. I'm thinking, though, of a new plan where Aussies pull a sled with me and my sister in for the Iditarod. I'm pretty sure I could get those bastards to run.
Yeah. Away.
While I sat there and had a little snack with my
nice
sister.
little hot chocolate.
It is nice that
Yes.
you want to have your sister, so that's pretty sweet.
My
Well,
sister and I love each other and cannot be separated.
Well, I will certainly inform my Aussies. I'm sure Patty will inform hers that we need to start Iditarod training.
Yeah.
So
Immediately.
Hetty,
The polar
Hetty
one.
the musher can
Yeah.
take us out.
The one you call polar. He's kind of a chunker. I think we'll let him do it.
He's perfect.
Thank you, Hetty.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thanks.
Bye-bye.
So we are now at Critter Quarter, and we are going to do parakeets. Thank you, Tigger. Which is they're just fascinating. There's so many things that I didn't know about parakeets, and some people think of a parakeet and a budgie. And there's a bigger word for that I can spell to you guys, but I'm not even going to pretend to try to say it. I was going to text you earlier, Tigger, and say, tell me what this word means. But anyway, it's the bigger word of budgie. So a budgie and a parakeet are the same thing. Now, the interesting thing is, and I'll just delve into this a little bit. There's like this big debate between parrots and parakeets, and it can be very confusing. But all parakeets are parrots.
Yep.
Okay. But some are small to medium size. And in general, any bird that has a hooked bill and a long tail is supposedly a form of a parakeet. No, a parakeet. Hooked bill, like a parakeet, not like a parrot.
Oh, okay.
And a long tail. And that can go on, elaborate even more, but I didn't want to spend time there because there's so many other interesting things. For example, I've never had a parakeet. Well, I probably did years ago, but they're highly intelligent and they truly love affection. And there's so many different types. Like, like I said, there's over 100 different variations of them, and they come from all different places in the world. There's an Indian ringneck, there's a plum-headed, there's a regent, and all of these are different colors. But we're going to sort of just stick around the budgie, which is the ones that we see in the pet stores. And they too are very, very intelligent. They're very social. They're full of energy. They love interacting with people, and they really do make great pets. They're found all over. They are found all over the world, mainly in Australia and South and Central America. And I think they all basically have very similar personalities. And because they're intelligent, and this is one thing that I didn't know, they can talk. Even the little budgies. They're not the best talkers, but you can train them to talk, and we'll get into that in a minute. So a couple things to know is that there's questions about, whether or not you should have one or two. You generally should stay within the same species, like, of parakeet. And in the wild, I don't know why I always find this so dear. They actually mate for life, which is, yeah. So like, if they lose their mate, that's kind of it for them. But okay, they live 7 to 10 years. They should be handled, every day, about 30 minutes a day if you can manage it. They talk about, minimum cage requirements. Obviously, the bigger is always going to be a little bit better. The minimum I saw anywhere from 16 by 14 by 18 or 20 by 18 by 18. So obviously, you've got to do what you can for the space that you have. A couple things to have for them. They need like a little, I don't know if you guys seen those little hooded things that birds can go into to kind of sleep at night. Sort of like looks like a hammock kind of, but it's completely covered so that they can go.
Shed.
It's a run-in shed for a parakeet or a budgie. Yeah.
I thought you just put a cover over the cage. That's what we did when I was a kid.
Yes, and you do that. And I looked into why, and it does. You can do that for sure. but they do like to go in a smaller area. So you should really provide both if you can. So you don't necessarily have to cover them, but in the training part of this, it'll explain why that is kind of a big benefit to cover it. And you can do it with a sheet or a towel. They say basic at least 3 perches. It should the cage should be spot cleaned weekly and deep cleaned once a month. Should absolutely have a cuddle bone in there, which obviously helps sharpen their beak and keep it trimmed down, but also provides, minerals and stuff like that. As far as food, wherever you get your bird, whether you get it from a pet store or from a breeder, they're going to suggest, standard bird seed or a type of pellet. But the fun thing is you can try like a fruit a week. You can give them dark leafy vegetables, which is always fun. Change their water every day, and about 2 to 3 times a week, offer them a little warm bird bath, not a hot one, just a warm one. And some of them won't take to the bird bath, so you can spray them nicely with a mister bottle. So the first thing that I was thinking of when I started to research this is when I found out that they could talk was sort of like I had birds years ago and I didn't know how to get them relaxed with me because they're different than cats and dogs. And actually they're not as different as I thought. When you get one home, if you take it from a pet store or breeder and they're going to be a little bit backed off and freaked out, well, how do you teach them to perch on your hand? So they recommend first talking to them regularly, and which also help with the teaching them to talk. But when you get them home after they've sort of settled in and they understand their space, they recommend that you place one hand in the cage and you don't move it around. You just set it in there so the bird gets acclimated to your smell and how you react and whatever. But just put it in there. And this may take up to a week. And they may squawk and move around, but you just keep it very calm. And once they calm down, you gently move it out. Well, then once that gets a little bit more regular, then you can put both hands in, but one hand put a little seed on it. And then once the bird gets comfortable, and that may take some time and you just have to stay patient, but once the bird starts to come towards your hand and possibly take the seed, then you can actually start to use a command like step up or stand on my finger or whatever you want. Step up seems to be the most common.
Attack!
And
attack, Budgie!
or attack,
Budgie.
Sorry.
And there is that. But once they start to get comfortable, you rub their chest a little bit, and then you can kind of bridge that to the next thing. So then, number one and big thing, once you take them out of the cage, what is the number one thing that you would think of after you take them out of the cage? Anyone?
Catch them.
Close the windows, but you should think of that before you take them out of the cage.
There's the bigger thing in this, and that is turn off the ceiling fan if you have one.
Oh my God. I never thought of that.
That could be tragic.
Yeah. Especially because once you take them out, they're probably going to be a little freaked out, right? So and this is where just like cats or dogs or anything else, you just have to take your time and remain calm. And if you've done your homework with teaching them to step up on your finger, they're going to go back to that as knowing that's sort of the safe place, or they'll go back to their cage. But they say if you take them out and they panic and they fly around the room, don't. Just calm down, see if they're scared, or encourage them to step up or let them go back in the cage. And then you just kind of do this continually. And then eventually it bridges them over and they become very acclimated to it. So last but not least, teaching your budgie or parakeet to talk. And this is where the covering of the cage is a big thing, because in the morning when you uncover the cage, whatever you decide to teach them, if they have their name or whatever is a good thing to start with. But as you start to take it off, you can start talking to them and you say the same thing, whatever it is, their name, over and over again. But they say first thing in the morning is the best time to teach them to talk, because birds really need their rest. And if they're distracted and tired at the end of the day, they're not going to respond as well. And that's where a lot of people end up not having any success in teaching them to talk, which I just found this part so interesting because I didn't know they could talk. But anyway, You repeat word over and over again. And last but not least, they do best with consonants like D, T, K, P, or B in the word or their name. So because they don't have a wide vocabulary like a conure or a Quaker parrot or something like that, but they can learn to say simple words and maybe a couple words in a row.
Sing?
Tigger, I didn't see it. I know they do. I know they chirp, but I don't think they sing. I'm not sure about that. I didn't see anything about that. That's a good question. But I mean, you've never had a parakeet, have you, Jennifer?
I have never had a parakeet. That's a good question. I'm sure that they have natural vocalizations.
Yeah.
So that's a good question.
I'm going to look that up.
Because I know they chirp.
Yeah, I know they chirp. Yeah, I guess they make a lot of sounds is what it says. Oh, and it will sing. Oh, they're so cute. I totally want one. Let's not tell Peter. What's that?
To Texas first.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. But I mean, it's just, anyway, I think they're fascinating. And it was such a good suggestion because it's just, you learn all these little tricks. And it's so interesting to me how all of these things in training always tie in together. And that is patience. Patience and stay calm. Patience and stay calm. So anyway,
cool.
Cute. And they do they make good family pets. If you introduce them to children slowly, they're great family pets with kids. So that's a big thing.
Good to know.
Yeah. So there you go. The world of parakeets.
I'm putting parakeets on my list.
There you go.
You're going to what, Tigger?
I'm putting it on my list.
Yeah, but look some of these bad boys up. I mean, the budgies are beautiful and adorable, but I mean, I had a sun conure, and they are they call them parrots, but they're very loud.
I wouldn't be I wanted a yellow-necked Amazon green parrot.
That's not loud at all.
Yellow-headed. Yeah, but they sing and they're good talkers. That would make sense that I would want something that's a good talker. But my problem is they live 50 to 70 years, which means they'll outlive me.
Yeah, you're gonna have to put them in your will, Tigger.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's what a lot of people do. Is they absolutely when you buy a parrot. I had a client once that bought a baby parrot, and I think it was a red wing macaw, and
they're beautiful.
Oh, they are beautiful. But we got it without feathers. Like we had to, feed it, not bottle feed it, but syringe feed it, and boy, did they bond with you. I mean, that was a fascinating experience. But anyway, you do have to and that's why a lot of these birds, they breed them, and then I don't know, I find it so irresponsible because you let people that are in their 50s buy a bird that's going to live 50 or 60 years. I mean, I would wonder where it's going to go. But anyway, there you go.
There you go.
It's a great pet. There you go. Oh, and I said 7 to 10 years for the parakeets.
There you go.
So
perfect.
There you go. Cool.
And here we are at Critter Nutrition, and today it's all about the healing power of Smectite clay. I want to go into some detail on the benefits of Smectite clay for horses, but I have to confess, in general, I am a raving fan of Smectite clay. What an incredible earth medicine it is for internal and external healing. The BioStar team can attest to me applying Smectite clay to their bruises, scrapes, bug bites, chapped fingers, skinned knees, and sore muscles. Unlike other clays, it doesn't need to stay on the body for hours and hours. 20 to 30 minutes is all. Smectite clay is formed through volcanic activity, primarily volcanic ash. Smectite is classified as a silicate clay. Bentonite and montmorillonite are both Smectite clays and are named for deposits, not as scientific names in themselves. Bentonite was named for a large Smectite deposit in Wyoming, and montmorillonite was named for a large Smectite deposit in France. The Smectite clays can have various high mineral contents. The use of clay both externally and internally has been a part of mankind's medicines for thousands of years. Today, this art of healing is formally known as paleotherapy and is used around the world in hydrotherapy, natural medicine, alternative medicine, and complementary medicine. Horse owners know paleotherapy from the use and application of poultices and Smectite supplements like BioSponge from Platinum Performance and the BioStar products Rebound, Starlight, and Locomotion. Smectite clay for horses can absorb and bind toxins. Because the clay's minerals are negatively charged and toxins are positively charged, the clay works like a magnet and draws the positively charged toxins to it. Smectite clays have the unique ability to adsorb and absorb toxins at a greater rate than any other clay. Adsorption is the process by which substances stick to the outside surface of a clay molecule, similar to the way a strip of Velcro works. Absorption is the process of drawing substances into the internal structure of the clay, similar to a sponge absorbing water. So Smectite has both of these capabilities, adsorption and absorption. Most everything that attacks the body, bacteria, virals, fungi, diseases, toxic chemicals, are positively charged. Smectite clay doesn't recognize these different substances. It only recognizes the positive electrical charge. So positive electrical charges will be attracted to the clay. It's also very alkaline with a pH of 7 point. As clay moves to the GI tract and colon, it picks up the positively charged substances and leaves the body through the alimentary canal, taking the toxins with it. While Smectite clay can be given dry, it's best to mix it with wet feed. My favorite varieties of Smectite clay for horses include calcium montmorillonite and magnesium aluminum silicate. I stay away from the sodium bentonites because sodium can be hard on the body. If you want to know more about Smectite clay or working with Smectite clay, BioStar has a full line of poultices made of Smectite clay and our Starlight, Rebound, and Locomotion products.
Real horses and real dogs are healthier, perform better, and recover more quickly on real food. That's why BioStar empowers horse and canine owners with 100% whole food nutrition, supplements, and feeding programs. BioStar products are made at their own certified non-GMO facility in Gordonsville, Virginia, using real food ingredients that are raw, freeze-dried, or dehydrated, never cooked, and are free from artificial flavors, colors, soy, corn, wheat, and molasses. The BioStar product line includes a wide range of whole food, horse and dog supplements, treats, and unique artisan poultices that embrace the ancient and traditional uses of clay and plants. Visit biostarus.com today and learn about whole foods and canine and equine nutrition so you can make the best decisions about the care and health of your horses and dogs. That's biostarus.com. Whole food nutrition the way nature intended.
So now we're at Coffee Clatch, and the question of Coffee Clatch today is, does your dog like to watch TV? And the reason this has come up is that I've noticed that a couple of my dogs are TV watchers, and there are specific things they kind of tune in on. The others could care less. So I wanted to ask, what does your dog watch, and does your dog watch TV?
It's so funny that you mentioned this. Years ago, I had a Greater Swiss Mountain Dog, and my best friend Kelly, I had bred a litter, and she had a sister to one of my litter mates that I had, and she was watching the Westminster Dog Show, and her dog Trudy, and I wish I could find this picture because it is a classic, was watching the dog show, like sat there and watched. I mean, it is the best picture, and I'll see if I can find it. It was just, and she just kind of sat there and watched it. It's funny. I don't know if I've ever noticed my dogs doing it. Because they're always either asleep under my feet or staring at me. So, but I may not be noticing.
Well, this is so odd because most of my dogs ignore it, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But I noticed when Wookie was about, 7 or 8 months old, and I was watching The Force Awakens, the Star Wars film.
Of course you were.
But what was so weird was that she went from sleeping on the couch to sitting up and watching the TV. And I went, oh, this is not possible. This is some coincidence. But wouldn't you know it, this winter, when there was like a Star Wars fest on and I was going through, when she hears the music or something, she just gets up and she just sits there with her on her little paws and watches with me.
She's a Star Wars fan.
Well,
I know she's a Wookster. Yeah, she kind of has to be.
Yeah.
And what the other dog that watches only animation, and there are sounds that, like, we watched The Lion King, and Thunder Bear is all over that movie. I mean, he just thinks he lies at the end of the bed, and he is just focused right on the action of The Lion King.
That's pretty cute.
Huh.
It's really cute. The others, no, they could care less. But
that's
those
so funny.
two,
How about yours?
I know. It's just
Jen?
so odd.
I cannot say I've ever had a dog that watched TV, but our next door neighbor's dog, who we babysit, she comes in and has away days. When they go away, we take care of their dog and they take care of ours. A little pug. She not only watches the TV, she interacts with the programming.
No!
Yes.
Oh, wow.
If there is action going on, and let's say there is a chase scene where a cop is chasing a perpetrator, the perpetrator goes off the screen to the right, she will bark and run around the right-hand side of the TV to the back.
Oh, that's adorable.
Oh, that is so cute.
I kid you not.
Adorable. That's adorable.
Oh!
Yes. Now, if she's watching Home and Garden TV, it's all cool and quiet and chill. But if she's watching cop shows, there's barking, there's running around. She has to participate.
That's adorable.
It's the weirdest thing.
I love it.
Oh, that is so funny.
Yeah.
Have you seen the ads for The Secret Life of Pets 2?
Oh my gosh, I must see it on opening day.
Me too.
Oh, no, I haven't.
Oh,
I can't wait to see that.
the
Are
big
you kidding
fat
me?
cat is. I love that cat.
My
That
mommy
cat.
may have given me some catnip.
But there's a
Yeah, that's so funny.
scene where they're all three of them are sitting there watching the TV. And when I first saw the ad, I went, "Oh my God, I own two of those dogs."
Yes, that's cute.
It is The Secret Life of Pets. It's real. It's an animated movie, but that stuff's real.
It
That happens.
absolutely.
That happens. I believe it. It happens right in front of me all the time. I just don't always know what
Now,
they're doing.
has there ever been a cat who watches TV? Cats watch aquariums all the time. That's the Fish
Right.
Channel.
Mm-hmm.
But do they ever
The
watch
Fish Channel.
TV? Yeah, ours used to do that. He loved the Fish Channel. He would sit for hours and watch the Fish Channel.
I didn't even know there was a Fish Channel.
It's not the real Fish Channel. It's the aquarium.
Yeah, it's the aquarium. Yeah. Yeah.
He would watch, and at Christmas time, they have the Yule Log channel. He would watch that, the cat.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
He would watch that Snap, Crackle, Pop thing. Yeah,
My
so-
cats just like to look out the window channel and talk to the birds. King Henry of Springdale, and he'd talk it, and the birds are flying around at the feet. But A, they can't hear you. B, they don't want to hear you.
Yeah.
There you go. And you know the birds are out there, flipping them in the
Neater,
bird.
neater, neater.
Yeah.
That's exactly what the birds are doing. Yeah. Well, if you have pets who like to watch TV
Let us
or
know.
aquariums or the outdoor wildlife, let us know. We want to hear about it.
HealthyCrittersRadio.com.
Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks to our sponsor, BioStar US. You can find them online at biostarus.com.
Get the Horse Radio Network phone app on iOS or Android by searching for Horse Radio Network in the App Store. It's free and easy to use.
For details about today's show, go to healthycrittersradio.com, where you can find links, photos, and more information about our guests.
As always, we love your feedback. Please follow us on Facebook under Healthy Critters Radio.
Be sure to visit all the great shows on Horse Radio Network at horseradionetwork.com.
Love your dog.
Hug your horse.
Feed your chickens.
Clean your litter box.
Dance with your goat.
Slither with your snakes.
Howl at the moon.
Hang with your hamster.
Party with your parrot.
Waddle with your walrus.
Outwit your otter.
Cuddle your cows.
Rap with your raptor.
Go chipping with your chipmunks.
Forgive your fox.
While hedging your hog.
We also recommend that you rack with your raccoon,
Gyrate with your giraffe.
meditate with a meerkat,
Uber with your orangutan.
Facebook with your flamingo,
Ponder with your panda.
walk with your Wookiee,
Yawn with your yak.
Twitter with your toucan,
Go raining with your reindeer.
Dropbox your dragon.